It's really disappointing, man.
It is. It's extremely disappointing. And then yesterday, of course, the Chris Pratt thing got to me a little bit. I really got off. I don't know if do you like Guardians of the Galaxy?
I didn't really watch it much.
Okay.
No. But I know what it is.
Okay, and then you've seen what's the other one he was in? Star Trek? No. Jurassic Park. I think he was in one of the Jurassic Parks. Anyway, make a long story short, Yahoo Movies came out with an expose on him yesterday. That they were complaining about his Gadsden flag over American flag.
All right, okay.
White supremacist. It's crazy, dude. Hey, how's it going, guys? Weather Soul Podcast. You're in the early show. Me and Dougie are just sitting back talking about some content we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about lots of things. Dougie's got a whole list of stuff. Or not.
Yeah.
Depends on whether we get there or not, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We always have a nice long list every week.
Not even talking into my mic.
Maybe we get 3 of them.
But this is the pre-show anyway. So, hey, guys, welcome.
It's yours.
Yeah, we're going to talk about lots of things. We didn't get to a lot of things last week, man, and I apologize on that. And we got some things coming up. As a matter of fact, we're going to have an interview coming up probably the Thursday of Labor Day. We're going to be having Kevin Pfeiffer of the Pfeiffers here in Gilroy. We're going to interview him, and then that'll be taped off. I'll drop it on that Thursday. We'll be off that week, so you won't be hearing from me and Dougie. And gonna take a week
just
off.
Gonna have
fishing,
the robot
man.
do it.
Gonna go fishing, man.
Just have the robot do it.
Can't wait to go fishing.
Yeah,
it's great, dude. So, and then this weekend's my. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's another one I did. You guys are getting some bonus material here on the pre-show. We're gonna start in about 3 minutes, but this got me on Monday when I first logged into Facebook because that's what I do. I torture myself.
Before we get started, I want to. Well, maybe I should. Give me a pencil. I want to make a note. Well, because I noticed something the other day. Just when this like send him home shit started.
Send him home.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably home.
I can't remember exactly. 36 people signed the Declaration of Independence. There's a bunch of people signed it.
Yeah, a bunch of people signed it.
And if you look at that list of names, you don't see any Hussans. You don't see any Yees or Lees.
No.
You don't even see a Kolowski.
No.
They're all British names and Irish names,
yeah.
And I think maybe 1 or 2 French. And that's it.
It's amazing.
Yeah. But that group of men wrote that document to try to be as inclusive as possible, not exclusive. There aren't exclusions in that document. There are only inclusions. I have always read it that way. Yeah. And, no matter what religion that you follow or whatever, I'm Christian. I read the Bible the same way. The Bible to me, the way that I interpret it and that I look at it and read it, I'm going like it includes everybody. It doesn't dissolve anybody. I mean, especially, if you're a Bible scholar. I was a Bible scholar for a while. I've read the Bible, both, the Old Testament and the New Testament, I don't know how many times, but it's required reading if you're Catholic.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're going to go to catechism and be confirmed and all that stuff.
So if you get from the Old Testament to the New Testament absolutely doesn't exclude anybody. I mean, it's all inclusive for everybody. And I don't know where they get this idea that the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution is exclusive of people. And I've heard the argument saying, well, they were slave owners, they were this, they were that. Well, that time that they wrote that was what was going on. I mean, that's what was socially acceptable at that time. I mean, even though it wasn't socially acceptable, but it was given that is a lifestyle that was happening.
And it was happening before these guys were born. So they were born into it. So it was sort of normalized to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we go through life, we go through and we absolve our sins because, it was probably one of the darkest parts of our history, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we absolve of that. We try to go forward, but that document never changes because they were always included, just like women were always included, just like everybody was always included. It was
Yeah.
it was for all men. Whoever was a citizen of the United States, whoever was standing on that land, and that went for the Indians, and that went for the Mexicans, and everybody else that was in there before we even got there. We didn't go in there and purge everybody out.
Well,
I don't. Well,
we didn't purge them out, but we definitely took their land.
we took their land.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Indians and soldiers killed back and forth between the wars that they've all had. Okay.
Yep.
The Indians got the raw end of the deal, but the fact is that everybody was counted except for the Indians who didn't pay taxes, because at that time the Indians were, I guess, not culturally.
They were
civilized.
actually kind of set up in their own sovereign nation, so they were
Right.
sort of like an island.
And I so wish that it would have went differently. I mean, that's something
Yeah.
that if there's anybody that is suffering from the the slaves and the Indians, who definitely are the ones that most.
Hey, listen,
paid the
even
price.
after we had abolished our slavery in this country, there were plenty of other countries that kept slavery for tens and 20s of years, and some of them didn't even make a law saying it's illegal, or at least state that it should not be, until just some of them only 30 or 40 years ago.
Cool.
Even though they had no slaves left after about 1880 or so,
Right.
but they didn't have it on the books. It
Right.
wasn't a law.
Right.
Amazing.
It is amazing. So here we go. Hold that thought, because we're going to go right back to it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Constitution. We're going to keep going with what Dougie had, and we're going to go live. I would say put that result squeeze from the bottom up, but I'm not going to say that today, because I think we have a new model called "Get Off of My Grass." This is Bruce and Doug, the Weathered Souls on the Weathered Soul podcast. Hey, Dougie.
How you doing, man?
We're live from First Note Production Studios in Gilroy, California. It's a lovely Thursday night, July 18th. How's it going, guys?
Going good.
All right. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were just talking about that on the pre-show. Let's expand on what you were saying, because I actually cut you off like I always do. I cut you off in the middle of what you were going to say, but you had something very important to say about the Constitution, and we had great discussion.
Well, we were talking about what the Constitution stands for people, and we started getting into a little bit about the definition of what they meant by men.
Yep.
And we were trying to get to the point that men was inclusive to everyone, even if they were excluded. Like, what we were saying was, the Indians were separated out into their own nation, and the slaves were only counted as slightly more than half a person.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were still in their minds, even though these guys, came from diverse backgrounds. They also were born into slavery. I mean, the first slaves brought to this country probably in the late 1500s.
Pretty much all civilizations were built on the backs of slaves. I mean, the Egyptian civilization and the Romans, and so it's been bred into the DNA of thank God it's been purged out of our DNA. It's just getting purged out of our DNA. There's still a lot of slaves out there, different forms, and there's all kinds of slavery. However, we're talking about the actual the African American slaves that came over, that were brought over here by the colonial people to do what they were doing. And
Right.
I've read a lot of stories on slaves. I mean, that's one of the big history things that I was into, man. It was kind of weird about, there was it was terrible. Slavery is terrible.
I think one thing that we don't give enough recognition to is the pure fact that this country would never, ever had existed if it wasn't for them.
Absolutely. I think it wouldn't have existed for a lot of different reasons, and probably on the top of the list is them number one. The slaves number one, because that's the existence of every civilization. I mean, that's how
they made it
goes
possible for our founding fathers to get the resources that they needed in order to be able to
absolutely
fund the revolution.
Absolutely. And how do you, I don't know how you don't do reparations on that or anything like that. I know it's a discussion I don't care to have because
Incredibly difficult math.
it's incredibly difficult math. And I just don't think it's going to be done. But wow.
Other than saying, I'm sorry and you're welcome into our community, I mean, that's a good start.
I think the thing
instead of like segregation and everything that freaking happened.
Yeah. I think the thing that I don't understand, and this is just bugs me the worst about politics, because, I just hate the hypocritical stance that they take, is that they say that they're going to, well, first of all, they take an oath that they were going to protect and protect and serve to the Constitution of the United States. That's what their duty is, on top of serving serving the citizens that they represent. And then they go and they just shit all over the Constitution. And I don't care whether you got a D, an R, an L, or an independent I in front of your name, you do it. I mean, that's kind of the way politics is working. It's kind of counterintuitive to what the real country is supposed to be, run on.
It's sort of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
To be smart enough to be able to run the government, you're also smart enough to know how to cheat the Constitution.
Right. I guess that's the way that you got to look at it. But with that in mind about being all inclusive, I mean, it was meant to be an all inclusive document, and somewhere along the line, probably before the ink dried, that they were always trying to figure out how to subvert different things that they already agreed on and they signed their name to. And they're not saying the men who did, but I mean, it had to be ratified by all the states and everything. I don't know if that was part of it.
Right.
So the whole situation is that today, where do we get this not understanding what that Constitution means? I mean, it really doesn't take a lot of intellect to look at the Constitution, read the Constitution, and go like, yeah, that means me.
Yeah, it's really funny because when I was growing up and going through all of my civic classes in grade school and social studies and whatever else they had for us to learn about the government, our society, and Constitution, and how laws work and everything else, I saw myself as an American, and I saw myself as one of those Americans who is offspring of immigrants. Okay, my parents were first generation, at least on my mother's side for sure, and my father's side, at least half of him. And although on the other side of his family, they were here for years and years and years and years. All right, how far back do you want to go? Anyway, the thing is that I always saw myself as in this kind of like group of people who were all out for the same goal, and you were good. And I was good, and he was good, and he was good, and oh geez, this guy is I mean, I was 6 years old when the first Korean moved onto our block, after the Korean War, right? And it was the first one, okay, Selfang Yi, all right, and they stood out so much, but yet when I went to school. And he was next to me walking to school, and he was in my class. He was just another one of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what do you believe about the assimilation at that time? Do you think it's different than now? The assimilation of people coming over and immigrating here. Do you think it's different now?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they have a harder time now because I think. Do
you think it's more segregated?
Well, I think there's two things going on. One is, whenever any group comes over, okay, the Irish came over. They got the shit kicked out of them. The Italians came over. They got the shit kicked out of them. I mean, Mick, Dago, Wop, all that, blah, 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 blah. You got Little Italy, right? You got Chinatown and Little Saigon here, all that stuff. That's because these people all have common likes. But eventually, they become fully integrated. Because right now, you go to Chinatown in New York or even in San Francisco, and it's a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, where it used to be a district.
Used to be a district, yeah. Exactly. It used to be a district. Kind of like, I don't know, it's not, the Vietnamese district in San Jose is the one that I remember when there was a large amount of a certain ethnicity coming over to immigrate to the United States after the Vietnam War. So, a lot of the Vietnamese come over and I don't remember... I really don't remember other than going like, where man they got? Why is everybody last name Win or no? Right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that was some. Other than that, I mean, we got along with it. A lot of them didn't, know English, and they came to our schools and stuff like that. But I remember not ever having any confrontations with them. And now, when I go to Little Saigon, which is in San Jose, off Tully Road and stuff like that. It's like they're totally assimilated, dude, and they're just like, come in. I love Vietnamese food, so anytime I can, and I go, and kind of get in on there because man, I love the cultures here, dude. I really do. I don't understand what's going on with this Muslim thing. We've had Muslims here since probably day freaking one. Muslims came over. So I mean, I'm not understanding what the problem is here, other than the fact I think 911 is the thing that actually kind of started this whole thing. I don't know.
Well,
I really don't know.
There were some terrorist acts beforehand. There were hijackings and
smaller ones.
There were bombs and things. Yeah.
Well, that's the smaller ones.
the Pan Am jet over Lockerbie. Right, 500 people, all that. I mean,
and the ones that we blew up over Iran. Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Airline we brought down. But anyway,
tit for tat, I guess.
Yeah.
But so they got a bad rap because
of 9/11.
Well, not just 9/11.
Well,
it started with that because it's a way to not just create an industry but also advance technology. People can make money off of that. Look at all the scanning equipment at the airports.
You said that last week, and you got a big, huge point about that.
Yeah, it's all. Okay, all right, Trump. You can ask me to lead the country if you want, but it's all about the Benjamins.
And you know what? When you talk about that, and you think about that, it's all about why I'm not conversing right now on Facebook. And it was just because I said it's not because of anything going on politically or racism or Antifa or freaking Black Lives Matter or scandals or truckers or dancers or porn stars or
TGIF,
nothing like that. It's all about the Benjamins, man, and that's a fact. It's absolutely all about the Benjamins,
right? Because unless you're at war, and unless you have an enemy to fight, you can't get funding, and if you don't have funding, you can't develop new weapons or equipment.
Right.
And without that, then you fall behind.
Yeah.
And then actually you're in trouble. So to keep the stupid Americans that are like, well, why should we spend money on war if we're not at war? Well, guess what? We're at war. Spend the money.
That's right.
Ching.
Let's play a game.
Okay.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
U.S. Census Service.
I'm not home, man.
I've been having a lot of fun. Actually, I posted a podcast Saturday morning, and another Bruce for Liberty podcast, and I was talking about how liberated it was and how I had got Facebook freedom. So I don't. Let me explain. I'm not replying to people via my personal timeline. So when I reply to people or when I post anything on Facebook now, it's right through the Weathered Soul page. So if you want to hear what I say, and you've already blocked me out of Bruce McGee, and maybe you want to hear me over at the Weathered Soul, you can go to
without going through all that trouble of unblocking and downloading.
Yeah, just friend me over at facebook.com, Bruce the Weathered Soul. I mean, it's a great segue into that, right? But that's funny how you said that. But this is where I am posting all my stuff and all my rhetoric. I'm also on MeWe, so you can go over and see Bruce McGee over at MeWe.com. That's where I'm at. But Dougie is still refusing to have a social media.
I don't accept input.
He doesn't accept input very well.
No. I'd love people commented about our conversations and stuff, but I'm not going to get into I'm not going to get into an argument about it unless they want to pay me for it.
Right. Well, see, the Democrats,
$1 a minute.
But here I'm looking at these memes, and I never used to post memes before, but now that I feel free in this webpage just to slew it out. This is what's going on. This is what we're going to talk about. These are things that I'm thinking about. It's still my journal. This is what I think about every day, stuff like that. So I got this meme on the census going around. I think it's pretty funny, but it's fairly accurate. So I will start with the Democrats, because I love to talk about Democrats, you know me. But no pun intended and no disrespect given. So on the census, the Democrats want to know your age, your sex, and your location, please. And what color is your skin? And can we ask if they have guns?
Right.
So that's what the Democrat census would look like if they came to your house.
Their way.
If they had their way. And the Republicans on the other side, they want to ask you if you have your papers.
Yeah. Show me your papers.
They want to know what color your skin is. And then they want to know where you're from.
Yeah.
So
where are you from?
That would be the Republican response. And the reason why we got into this discussion all about the Constitution was all about this little thing that a libertarian like me believes, and anybody who's free and thinks about freedom and independence, if we are to have a census, it should only be a head count as legally required.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Because when that census guy comes to my door and knocks on my door, U.S. Census, we have 4 people here.
Yep.
That's it. That's all I'm saying. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Not signing nothing. Put down the number 4. That's how many people live here. You don't need to know anything else, because you know everything else. Because all you have to do is go down to the Internal Revenue Service and find out how many people live in my house.
Or the DMV.
Or the DMV.
Yeah. Well, to see how many adults are here.
There are plenty of places that you can get my information for free without bugging me.
My mother was a census taker in the, God, what was it? 1980 census, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. And it was because, they have a assigned area and they're supposed to get the count of all these people for their assigned area. And some people don't respond. And you got to go back to their house, knock on the door. You got to call, you knock on the door. You got to call, you bug them. Some people just don't answer.
I'd be interested to see if the FBI comes gets me, because I won't answer my door and just say 4 and 2 dogs and a lot of spiders.
Yeah. Well, they want to know where you're from, what, all this other crap for the demographics.
They
right?
don't need to. They don't need to know anything for the demographics. I mean,
they don't need to know the demographics. You're right, because each person should be a widget.
Each person should just be a person. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But they need to know how many males, how many females, how many youths, and all that stuff, so that they know. Yeah, how many youths, so they know what their resources are. Okay. Once again, it comes down to the same old thing. Government needs to know what it's got in its pocket.
That's right.
How many 18-year-olds are there? How many 17-year-olds? How many old men are there? How many of these people are women? Right?
Mm-hmm. 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 And that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, we're just throwing away all this liberty and all this freedom when it comes down to what the original intent of the Constitution was. And the Constitution has been massaged and added to, rightfully so, in the way it was supposed to be done. Nobody's ever forced any kind of, other amendment onto the Constitution without legally doing it to the channels that they were supposed to.
Right, and for a good reason.
Okay, and exactly, because it should be really, really hard to change that. Now, the interpretation of those amendments seems to be very easy to interpret, because we're fighting about it to this day on everything. So it's just kind of it's a beat up situation, and it's a beat up document right now. And I don't know how we're going to get it back, other than the fact that we need more people to realize that you gotta think of the 435 people that are sitting in Congress. We haven't passed a budget in 2 decades, something like that. We haven't been able to pass legislation between the House and the Senate. Very rarely do we ever see, things passing through those two. And then with our president now, very doubtful whether he'll keep his word, sign the document. So, but, in that situation, what we're seeing here is just a complete bastardization of the document as it's written. and it's just nobody cares about it anymore. We bring up this being unconstitutional, and until the next little silvery thing ends up in somebody else's hand and the headlines change, they forget about it and haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, and it has to do too with the way they write the amendments, the way they write the bills. Everything gets so obtuse and occluded, and it's like, well, you know what? If you want to have $20 million in order to make sure that New Orleans doesn't sink into the Gulf of Mexico, then you got to tag on there, $8 billion for my wall. Otherwise, you don't get it.
Or you have to tag on another $3 million for my bridge that I'm going to build in freaking New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Or
that goes nowhere.
Or the high speed rail that goes to nowhere in California. Right. So I mean, that's some of the things that are
that's one of the problems.
Yeah, that's one of the
problems. That sort of stuff should not be allowed. It should be, this is the framework of this bill, and you don't get to go outside of that framework. This framework deals with this and not that. Halftime, and period. That's it. You don't get to say, well, let's tag this on to the end of the last minute.
True.
While they're voting. Oh, and by the way, no, I'm changing my vote.
I'm going to tell you something, and I love Jon Stewart to death. This is going to go right into it.
Yeah,
I love Jon Stewart to death, and what he said about the 9/11 responders and them dying because the 200 something, the 200 something whatever, person died of an illness from there.
Yeah.
Now Rand Paul's libertarian, and I can understand why he did what he did, because of the same reason of why you just said a lot of bills just get bastardized, because in there was a clause that said that Congress was going to have a blank check to spend virtually as much money as they wanted to, whenever they wanted to. And I have to side with Ron Paul on this, because regardless of the fact that the guys need the money, it's just like, as Ron Paul, I would have said, look, you pull that out of there and you have my vote, because you can't work around that once that bill's in, because somebody's going to pass that bill and it's going to be law, and then boom, now.
Yeah, the problem there is that we can't trust Congress with a blank check.
Yeah, exactly.
Blank check would sound great. You know what? You have unlimited resources to make sure that these first responders and victims are well taken care of.
Absolutely.
Whatever it takes. Same
thing with our military people.
But it should be like an expense report for work. Okay, you can't go out and buy a new car and a TV on your expense report for work.
Yeah.
Right. You can buy lunch, and you can buy a hotel room and rent a car. Period. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And until man, I want to say 2020 is coming up and the election is coming up, and I get this every time the vote comes up. It's like, I need to vote either Democrat or Republican, because if I don't vote Democrat or Republican, my vote's just wasted, and I'm pushing somebody towards freaking finish line that maybe they don't want there. Okay.
Yeah, you piss off your friends.
I piss off my friends. But I'll be goddamned if I'm going to freaking vote more of my liberty and my freedom away by voting for either Trump or who I'll presume that the Democratic nominee will be, because it's not going to be Tulsi Gabbard. Damn it. I know that they're not going to let her go because she's too sensible.
Yep.
And man, I love Tulsi Gabbard and everything that she's been saying. Even some, I can work around, some of her domestic fiscal policies. I can work around that. I could have worked around Bernie's, because the fact is that what they said on Dan Bongino today, because I listen to Dan Bongino all the time, and he goes like, I can't respect these liberal politicians, some of these presidential candidates that just change their mind and change the truth all the time. He says, the only one that I can really respect is Bernie, because at least Bernie believes what he's saying. And he tells you the truth. It's going to take $30 billion to, $300 billion, whatever it is, to run this program. And he didn't care. And we're going to tax the middle class.
Yeah.
At least he believed that.
Yeah.
so he can respect him on that. But the whole, I mean, this whole thing with just politicians in general spending. I mean, I know that was pointed towards the Democrats and everything, but like I said, back to Tulsi Gabbard, you know, I just want somebody like that who's going to fight for. I hope so. I'm hoping, believing, because she's very anti-war, and we've had this conversation before. I'm very much against war. I hate wars. There's no reason why we should be in any wars right now. We're all over the place, and it's freaking crazy. So that's my main attraction to Tulsi
Should I
Gabbard.
rewind the tape for you?
That's my main attraction to Tulsi Gabbard. So I'm actually looking at a Democratic candidate. Libertarians don't have anybody really to shake a spoon at, because I don't think Justin Amash is going to go back and be a libertarian or run as a libertarian. I think that he might take a stab at the presidential, but he probably goes as an independent because he just dropped out of the Republican Party for good measure. I mean, you know,
Good reasons.
there's very good reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to, you know, and it doesn't piss off a lot of people, but I've got people that follow me that are really into Trump, and that's cool. You know, whatever you guys do, you know, whatever, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I want to make an apology, kind of, because of how I've been in the last couple of weeks, but I just got to stay away from that toxicville. Okay, and that's what I talked about Saturday. I got to stay away from the toxic thing right now, because even the right side is really starting to piss me off. And I'm probably more conservative than I am liberal, but the conservatives really getting to me. And that's kind of what happened right after, you know, Bush. You know, when Obama was running against, I can't remember who it was that he was running against, because I voted for Obama. So I really didn't care who the Republican candidate was. Didn't matter at that time. But I remember just at the same time I was listening to talk radio, and it just started getting really heavy, even 10 times less than what it is now with the rhetoric. But still, the chatter was really high on the conservative side. And I'm just sitting there going like, bullshit. I know what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a voice on the Democratic side, but I still, you know, knew enough about Obama, saw him speak, and kind of followed some of his stuff until he, you know, got to the election, and, you know, voted him in. Not my single vote voted him in, but I hope get him voted in. And I voted for him again. I'm sorry, I voted for the dumb shit Gary Johnson. in that
Well, you know, you don't
election.
have to share that with us if you don't want to.
That's all right. Libertarian Party is going to get there someday. It's just you got to quit thinking of us as crazy, because we're not. We're just for liberty and freedom, man. That's all it is. You know, leave me alone.
Yeah, but you still got to run the country.
You got to run the country.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, tax is theft. Tax at the end of a gun is theft. But an agreed tax that represents everybody is agreed. It's a tax, and it's something that I am happy to pay. However, when it gets to how bloated our government is now, you know, it's just like some, you know, some charities and stuff, like, you know, they're paying all their big cats first before anything trickles down to do whatever you got to do for the charity. Government's the same way, and it's the same way with corporations and everything. I mean, you know, you got the guy at the top, and then everything kind of squeezes down. And the bottom feeders are the bottom feeders, and unfortunately, we're the bottom feeders in the U.S. government.
Yeah. And you know, I got news for all of, you know, my fellow Americans and stuff. I don't care what you call your government. I don't care what you call your politics. I don't care what you do with whatever. But when, like, the government is the largest employer in the country, you're fucking socialist. Sorry. Period.
Can you tell me what the government produces in value?
Nothing.
Nothing.
The government produces nothing except checks and regulations.
Where does
They hand out checks,
so where does
they collect money,
Yeah, but where do
and
those
they
checks
regulate
come
it.
from?
You and me.
That's right.
Yeah. Collect money from you and me, hand out checks.
They do nothing.
Yeah.
They actually do nothing. And we can do it. I think the people could do it so much better. A private industry can do it so much better.
Well, you mean like privatizing something like the EPA or or the FAA?
No, I think the states should take over all their EPA and they need to make a decision on what's more valuable to them to protect in their state. Now, I presented this
Because I'll be honest with you, if you could set it up where a company would have a high degree of liability for their actions, I think they would do a better job
it should be.
at regulating things like the EPA and the FAA.
It absolutely should be that way. I do not disagree.
I don't know if that's the best way to go, but I think that if it's their product,
right,
and and it's not a monopoly, right? Like, hey, Joe, you let Exxon leak water into my stream yesterday. You're fired. We're going to hire this EPA company now to monitor them.
Yeah, so I wrote a post the other day on July 14th. I'm going, if you're a nation of laws, then which law applies? Federal, state, county, city? What entity supersedes the other? And be careful how you answer.
It goes uphill.
Of course, I got crickets. So because a lot of people, like I said, have unfollowed me, and I follow me. I can't be that bad. I can't be that obtuse and rude and be a great guy. But anyway.
No, I think it's I think it's your grammar.
Might be my grammar. It's because of this mustache. I'll shave the mustache off if it bugs you. I don't know.
No, it's your accent. When you're typing, man, it comes right through.
But really, I mean, what law supersedes the laws? I mean, with the California marijuana laws, I mean, marijuana is still what is it, Class A, right?
Schedule 1 or
Schedule 1 drug.
Yeah, is Schedule 1 or Schedule 3? I don't know which way that goes.
So,
yeah, but it's a chemical with no use, no medical or industrial use, whatever that is.
Right. But California have seen different.
I mean, even LSD and mushrooms are lower level.
Yeah.
I mean, are they have a psychotic or whatever, psychological, psychiatric or psychological use, whatever.
Does okay for me. But my point.
Humana.
But my point being with all that is, like, with the laws, I mean, we're all thinking about, what laws we're going to adhere to here, there. I mean, it should be back where, I mean, the states had their own laws. I mean, federal law was very small.
Federal law should only cover interstate.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But it doesn't.
Laws that cover the entire country.
Right.
But then that's it. Like interstate. Like.
I mean, should there be an immigration policy in Nevada? Should Nevada worry about immigrants coming to their state? Even if you wanted to call them undocumented immigrants, okay? Now forget flying them in, okay? So let's get off of that. Let's get off of the submarine, dropping them off at the beach. Let's get off of all that.
Go right up the Colorado River, right to the bottom of the dam.
Should only the ones that have a border that somebody could physically cross be responsible for immigration policy in this nation? And I think yes. I think it's a responsibility.
If they want to keep the people in their state, sure.
No, I disagree.
Because otherwise, no, it's a national thing.
Well, then, if it's a national thing, then why is everybody so concentrated on the 4 states that are on the southern border?
Should be concentrated on the entire circumference of the country.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
But I mean, what we're talking about is the southern border. Okay, so
that's just because they don't want South Americans and Central and Mexicans to come in. Well, because they hate them. That's all.
Well,
if you were Dutch, you get right in.
But we don't hate them until it becomes an issue that immigration is either coming over in large places where we can't handle. I mean, seriously, we can't handle the overflow of immigrants that are coming over the border right now. I know you've got some notes. So please go to your notes. Go ahead.
2 years ago, 47% of the Americans thought the immigration laws were, that America was too open to immigrants.
When was that? I'm sorry.
In 2017, 2 years ago, 47% of America thought that the borders were too lenient. Now it's 57%.
Of all Americans say that. Where was that poll taken from? Do you know?
I didn't write it down, but I can't remember.
So do you think? Well, immigration policy is definitely not any more easier than it was.
Right. No, that's just the opinion of Americans. Do you think we let too many people in?
No.
In
think
17, 47% said yes, and today 57% say yes. And I'll tell you what, I say no all the time.
Yeah.
I think the border should be wide open. I think that if there's people in Somalia, they should load up on the friggin', Queen Elizabeth II and come on over by the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what this country is about.
Yeah.
And we have the room for them, damn it.
Yeah.
You can make an oil pipeline that goes from the North Pole all the way to the Gulf of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You can get water from the Great Lakes out to the Great Plains.
Mm-hmm. See, when I think about that too, I think about this situation that I hear all the time. They never run out of money for welfare. They never run out of money for the social services that Washington is never asking for money for the social services. I mean, they're now asking for Medicare for all, but I mean, you never hear that there's a budget shortfall for SNAP or TARP or anything like that, or any of those programs. But we can't spend the money to be able to handle the influx of immigrants that we got coming through the southern border. Now, granted, they have to be vetted. Believe me, they have to be vetted. It's just can't be wide open and just come on through. I mean, you've got to be housed. You've got to be taken care of for a while. I don't like this family separation thing just as much as anybody else. I think it's wrong, but I mean, it's been going on for a couple of administrations now, and it's just shouldn't have been done in the first place. But, one of the opinions I heard was those immigrants are being lied to at the origin of their journey, that they've got people talking to them saying, hey, if you go here, you can get this, 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 and this. And they're walking into this turmoil that they had no idea about. Because I hear the other excuses like, oh, they knew what's going to go on, and they're still coming here. Well, maybe some of them do, but a lot of them don't.
A lot of them don't have any other choice.
And a lot of them don't have any other choice. And a lot of them paid a lot of money to get here to be screwed over.
Yeah. And since my ancestors, some of my ancestors were once in that position,
right,
I have a little empathy for these people. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I understand. It's the same with me here. But the situation still arises is that we're not prepared right now to do, we are prepared to do something right now, and we should do it. And Congress, again, is doing the same old two-step. Because if it was a Democrat in office, it would be the Republicans blocking away. If it was a Republican in office, the Democrats are blocking away. It doesn't matter. They don't want to do it because that guy is in office. The Republicans didn't want to do it because Obama was in office. And the Democrats don't want to do it because Trump is in office. And the Democrats didn't want to do it when Bush was in office. And the Republicans didn't want to do it when Clinton was in office. So, I mean, it's this vicious circle that keeps going round and round and freaking round. Mm-hmm. Every freaking decade goes by, and this immigration problem gets worse. We haven't made it any easier. We've made it actually 10 times harder to get in. It costs a boatload of money to from what I hear, to even get here to do everything you need to do just to get to be a citizen, right? Get a green card and get through all that. It costs a certain amount of money.
Well, you can make it simple and just say deposit $500,000 in an American bank and you get a blue passport.
No, I don't know.
How about that?
I don't know if that's so smart. Do a lot of laundry with that money.
Yep.
But that's how they think too. So I wouldn't put it past them to do that.
Well, it's the same. I mean, that's actually one of the things for non-refugee immigration is you have to be able to prove you can support yourself. You're not going to come here and be on our welfare.
Right, exactly. But one of the things that I also think about is I think it's just a shame that it just gets politicized all the time, because all these people are getting shit on.
Yeah.
And then the people that came in here that did it the right way and came across the border and did what they had to do and assimilated into the life and everything like that. I mean, they're resentful too on both sides. I mean, they're pissed off both ways. You know, my grandparents on my mom's side, I think were second generation in here, or maybe third generation in here. I think I'm third generation in, so my kids are 4. On my dad's side, he's a freaking white guy from the Midwest, man, from Norway. He probably came over and
On the Mayflower.
On the Mayflower, I don't know. We were Wynorskis.
Yeah, I actually know some people who have descendants from the Mayflower.
One of my descendant names is Wynorski or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's how white I am. And it was funny. Wow. So yeah, we got way over on whatever we're doing here, but we're going forward with the show. But it's real good discussion about liberty and freedom. I've been wanting to do that for a long time because that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast. It was pretty cool. Hey, we went over. Did I tell you we went over 100 listeners?
Yeah.
We got over 100 listeners, guys. Thank you, guys. I want to.
Actually, it's one listener listening 100 times.
Maybe that's what it is, but that's okay. If you enjoy the show, I mean, the show's getting better. We're on show number 27 today, and you can see us over at the Weathered Soul podcast.libsyn.com. You can go to Patreon if you want to donate to the show. We'd love to have you. We've got some extra content going over there. We'll be doing some extra content later and stuff like that. I don't know how many minutes we're in. We still got another 20 minutes to go. And we just love to have you. Share the show. Go anywhere to go pick up the podcast, but mainly to the libsyn.com /the Weathered Soul podcast, or the Weathered Soul podcast.libsyn.com, one of the two, whichever way you want to get there. And just go there and listen to the show. Leave me a comment. Leave Doug a comment. Leave us a rating on iTunes or on Google Play or on Stitcher, someplace. I want to move up the charts. I think that sitting here and talking back and forth and
share it with your friends, if not for the comic value.
If not for the comic value, for the noise in your car value as you go to work in the morning. I mean, we're a lot different than Sussman in the morning on 560.
Yeah, and we don't fade out under bridges.
And I don't talk about religion, and I don't what do they call it? He talks down weed a lot, dude. I can't stand freaking Brian Sussman for that. Holy
really?
Shit. Oh God, dude.
Anti-doper, huh?
He's dude. If he's like, I'm all for freedom and liberty, but you can't smoke dope. You guys can't do your flag. And he's just kind of really out there, I think. I really do think he's way, way out there. I mean, he caters to that straight up Republican to probably more leaning towards that extreme Republican. I really do. He's got a lot of legitimate discussions. I mean, but sometimes he goes too far. He always talks about them dope smokers. Sort of savage. He does that too.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah, us little dope smokers.
Yep.
Worst thing that happened is that we freaking legalize marijuana. Screw them. Okay.
Well, there's another thing. My point of view. All prohibitions are unconstitutional and illegal.
Oh,
I mean, immoral.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's a liberty thing. I mean, when they tried the prohibition with alcohol, they should have learned their lesson and just said, "Fuck it, have a blast, folks. It's all good."
What do you think about the bullet train, dude?
So now I'm reading about that they're going to bring it through Gilroy, and they're going to have a transit center. I mean, maybe I'm hallucinating.
No, I thought it was all pulled back. I thought the whole thing was strapped, right?
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's like something about a big transit center in Gilroy for the high-speed rail.
Well, California Ready.
Maybe they have the transit center in Gilroy and then bus people over the hill to the high-speed rail. I don't know. I didn't read the whole article. I just saw the headline.
Unless you bank the curve really good and then bank it back around into the Central Valley, I mean, that'd probably be the coolest thing to do. I'd probably write it just for that.
Yeah.
California Ready is a $1.6 billion high-speed rail design contract. July 16, 2019. California officials on Tuesday moved towards awarding a $1.65 billion contract and designed to construct the traction system for the first segment of the beleaguered high-speed rail project. It's back.
Why is it costing so much?
I want to know why it's back.
I think high speed rail is a good idea.
Well,
and I think the federal government should pay for it. It's like what is it? Two B-2 bombers?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about
Seriously.
when you think about cutting a military contract, and then a lot of things come into light that you can afford, right?
Well, you don't even have to cut the contract. If you could spend that much money on a plane, you can spend that much money on a train. Damn it!
You just
At the same time,
you don't build the plane and you do the train.
No, I think you can do both.
I don't think you do both.
I think you can do both.
I don't think you do both.
Oh man, those printing presses print fast.
Here we go. The green guy's coming out. See, now you want to print money. See,
why not? It's all artificial anyway.
Is that the way you're thinking? Because that's the way they think.
That's the way it is, unfortunately.
That's the way. Well, since we got
when Nixon took us off the gold standard because there wasn't enough gold in the world to support our economy.
Yeah, that's been a discussion too. Finally, my silver has taken off. It's finally following gold. So
yeah, what's that up to? $80?
It was actually from. Let's see. The last time I bought was at like $23.80 an ounce, or no, 14.30 an ounce. That's what it was. I bought a whole bunch like about a year ago, and now it's like at 15.65 or something like that. If I remember this morning. It's pretty cool.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I've got
silver's better electrical conductor than gold.
That's all right. I got my stop at 40 and I'm out.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is I don't know. Yeah, I guess gold has some industrial purposes and so forth.
There's a lot of gold in electronics. There's a huge amount of gold in electronics. Yeah. But I mean,
there's a lot more silver because silver is actually a better conductor than gold.
Yeah. So what I don't understand is this. I mean, we're backed by debt now. Would you?
Yeah.
Would you buy my debt?
No, but I'll add to it.
No. I just want to know if you'd buy my debt. See, so how stupid does that sound?
I know somebody who makes a lot of money doing nothing but trading debt all day.
Oh shit, dude. I don't understand. I just don't understand it. It just doesn't make sense to me. How can we back our currency off of the debts we owe, man?
We're not backing it off of the debts we own.
Absolutely.
No.
Well, we're creating a lot.
We're backing it with our army.
Okay. Yeah.
Yo, pay us.
Okay, got it. But in reality, they all call it debt. Okay, because
right. Well. Once again, what is the value of it? Okay, so when commerce started, okay, and like whatever, the cavemen were trading shiny rocks and beads and stuff.
Okay.
What was the value?
There was no value.
Exactly. So
yeah,
it never was. Even when we were on the gold standard and they had these notes that you could exchange for a chunk of gold or a chunk of silver.
You have a point. When it comes down to it, it's commodity. Well, it's actually commodities that make a difference.
Yeah, so instead of having a blue piece of paper, that said silver note on it, you could throw it at a guy and he hands you a little chunk of metal. Big fucking deal.
Right.
What are you going to do with that? Eat it?
Yeah. Well, when the guy with gold doesn't have any peanut butter.
Yeah.
You can come over and try to trade you peanut butter for gold. You're going to go,
no. I got enough. I bought it when it was 300 an ounce.
But back to the train, the action taken by California High-Speed Railroad Authority Board of Directors was the first step in moving ahead with the contract they hope will be awarded next summer as a part of the authority's plan to get the track back up and running to the Central Valley ahead of the 2022 deadline, which is only a mere 3 years away. To meet the requirements of the federal grants the Trump administration is now trying to take back. So there's the basis of why they're trying to spend that money. They need to get that piece of rail done.
Yeah, you got to get it spent before they take it away.
Yeah. And in all fairness, I think they should have had it taken away because it was a ridiculous thing in the first place. It was definitely the voters of California's fault that this even ever happened. And
that's and it's so ridiculous too. That just reminded me of a story. I'll just take 2 minutes to go aside here. I used to service a machine at Johns Hopkins University in Maryland, and every year I would have to go there and change a laser. Whether the laser was good, brand new, had 100 hours on it or had 2,000 hours on it. every year at the same time. I had to go change that laser because if they didn't buy a laser from me every year, the year they skipped, it would be taken out of their budget and they would never be able to get it back.
Right.
What a waste. I mean, this wasn't cheap. You're talking time and materials, this is like probably, my company probably charged them $1,600 in labor plus expenses, plus another $3,000 or $4,000 for the laser, maybe $7,000 for the laser.
Nope. That's how you keep in business, I guess, by just making a turnover on the same product.
And then on top of that, they paid us like $1,500 a month for a service contract. But since service contract said we only replace the parts when they're broken, they want to replace when it's fixed. It's
like the software.
Cash and materials.
It's the softwares that we use, know, for our business. AutoCAD, we pay every year for their subscription fee to keep it all up to date.
But saying, this is part of that's where some of that money goes to.
Yeah.
All right. And so to those people, it's something that they have to spend, whether they want to or not. They have to spend
our economy. We're driving our economy at the expense of a stupid vote. So, I mean, I understand it. I understand that it keeps people employed, but at the expense of something that we all were regretting the minute that it passed. Because I really do believe that it wasn't the honeymoon was over pretty quick after it passed. I mean, it was a mere 6 months before we're going like, all right, what, and I've been to a couple of the meetings and watched a couple of the video ones, and I'm just like, these guys.
Politics.
Yeah, politics. It was just politics. It was, yeah. Let me feed you, you feed me, blah, blah, blah. This is how it's going. All the farmers and landowners got screwed over the deal. There's still, a lot of them are still waiting for payment of, the stuff that's already going through their, I mean, I guess that's probably what this 1.6 billion is going to go for too, is probably some of the payment to those farmers that haven't got paid yet. I mean, because they're not going to get any residual every time that train goes by. They're not going to do that. Why? Because the train's going to be federally subsidized like every other train freaking track and engine that's running down the track. Is like all of them are subsidized, especially the passenger trains.
Well, if we were a true libertarian society, then he could just put a toll booth up there.
That's absolutely right. And all that track would be owned by private companies, and the private companies would be charging you which way to go and to use them. So, and I think that would be the best way to go, because that's what keeps the competition, keeps prices
the way it was back in the early days.
Absolutely. That's what's going on in California. As far as I'm concerned, that's what's going on in California. One of the things I wanted to talk about today. And I know that you got a whole bunch of freaking stack of stuff there, dude. What you got in front of you?
Oh, I don't have much. Not too much. I just want to let everybody know that the Silicon Valley Beer Fest has actually migrated down to the South Valley. And so Kelly's in Morgan Hill and Union Local 408 and Promised Land and Gilroy are all going to be participating in it this week.
Nice.
So anybody wants to check the local paper and see what any special events. If not, you can visit your local brew pub and just say thanks.
Sure. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do this weekend with my wife. Sort of anniversary. So number 29. We're not.
Well, I guess you could probably just send her to the movie or something.
I was supposed to go golfing down in Paso Robles. Hey, honey.
I didn't know she golfed.
But probably what we'll do is, we've never been actually south of Carmel. So I was thinking,
you mean down Route 1?
I've never been, I haven't been south of Carmel. I mean, in years and years and years. And I really don't know.
And it's not a holiday weekend, so.
And I really don't know where to go. I mean, are there places that you can stop at, like to eat or?
Well, we go down as far as Pfeiffer's, to go camping on Memorial Day.
Right.
And down there, there's that. It's right before Pfeiffer's Fernwood Resort. Mm-hmm. It's on the right.
Yeah.
And they've got a little bar restaurant there. And they have pretty decent food, and it's a full bar. I mean, it's a decent bar. It's out in the woods. It's nice. There's a river. You can, park and then go down and check out the river or whatever. I don't know. Normally, you'd park up at the top and then you walk down this, like, I don't know, it's probably 200 step staircase.
Okay.
And then you're in the park, and then you can, a couple hundred feet, you're at the river. All the RVers. They have a
and that's down Highway 1.
Yeah, that's
okay. Cool. No problem.
Watch out. That's down Route 1, yeah. And and depending on what kind of mood you're in, if you really want to be ambitious, you can go down to there's a couple of wineries a little farther down, and then at one point you can way down halfway to LA. There's a place called Slovang.
Oh shit!
Which is
that's way down there.
Yeah, that's like the
that's
Swedish. It's the Swedish Swedishvelling.
Yeah, that's too far.
Yeah, well, you're talking a full day. I mean, half a day to get down there. You have some pancakes and a half a day to get back.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's not that. It's like a three.
I think we're going to do
3.5 hour drive.
I think we're going to do like a 2 or 3 hour drive down, and
then well, the Route 1 drive is from Monterey down to Fernwood is about an hour.
Yeah.
But that's because it's a
right.
If you were to try to like drive down to, let's say, Slovang on Route 1, you can get halfway to LA, right? 3 hours.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So 29 years, man.
29 years. Holy cow.
That woman's got patience.
Yeah, I know.
No woman had more patience than Tracy.
Abby and I are going to be 20 years in September.
In September, yeah. Right. So, we're thinking about going to Hawaii again, dude.
This weekend?
No, not
this weekend. Sorry.
I wish this weekend. That would be nice. But
yeah, I would love to.
You got a little saved item that I wanted to bring up, and because we've been to Hawaii before, but we haven't been to the Big Island. And it says Eco Watch, which posted on July 18th, said 33 native Hawaiians got arrested for protecting the sacred mountain from the giant telescope. So apparently I'm going to read some of this. It says a decade-long fight over a proposed construction of a giant telescope mounted on a mountain considered sacred by some native Hawaiians came to a head Wednesday when 33 elders were arrested for blocking the road to the summit. The most recent protest kicked off Monday when a construction of a $1.4 billion 30-meter telescope was set to begin on Mauna Kea on Hawaii's Big Island. Astronomers say the mountain is one of the best places in the world to get a clear view in an attempt to understand the origins of the universe. But some native Hawaiians revere the mountain as sacred, and it is both a place where important ancestors are buried and a place believed to be the entrance of the point to heaven. So very interesting. I'm not going to go too much more into.
Well, wouldn't they want to see where they're going? Sorry, smart ass.
I think something like that is either driven by NASA or driven by a college, right? I mean, that's probably, or NASA in coordination with the college.
Some research,
like some research firm. So I've always had that question about the use of public lands and whether Mauna Kea is a federal land or whatever it is. I have no idea what the land use is for Mauna Kea. But if I was an elder, if I was a native of Hawaii, I'd probably take offense to having a telescope up on another mountain because I think they already have a couple of really big telescopes there already. I mean, if you're gonna do, why don't you revamp one of the ones that probably have lower power. And revamp that one instead of using another piece of terra firma and ruin its beauty.
Yeah, I mean those are all valid points. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I can agree with all of that. But playing the devil's advocate, we could also say if it was such a holy mountain and you've got cemeteries and stuff on it, then don't you own it? Don't you hold the deed to it?
Okay, well,
right. And is somebody coming in and saying we're taking your property away by eminent domain? Or is it just this is unclaimed open land? Because if it's like Bureau of Land Management land that's unincorporated or unowned, then you shouldn't be out there burying your people anyway. And if they were buried there when the U.S. took over the island, somebody should have said something. And if they didn't, and they're trying to say it now, then that's what should happen. Right. It should be, say, okay, you guys, eminent, whatever,
They don't
indigenous,
Yeah, they don't actually go into the
because
detail
the
of
native
who
Hawaiians kind of got treated sort of like Indians too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The colonials came in and they took all their natural resources and changed
Penned them up.
and then changed everything. And then, when I went there, it was very strange. The first time I went there without you guys, and I started talking to one of the locals, and they set me straight about pineapples and sugar cane and all that other stuff of that.
Right,
that
was
stuff
all brought over.
was all brought over and planted. And we always think of pure cane sugar from Hawaii. Okay, that little jingle and stuff.
No, that stuff comes from the tropics. It comes from Puerto Rico.
Comes from beets.
Yeah, around here.
Come from beets and milpitas. No, I think the beet plant is in Tracy or something right now. Yeah. But back to that, no, all that stuff was brought over by the colonials and planted there, and then of course, you had your slavery there of the Hawaiian people that were harvesting the plantations there. That's why they call a lot of things plantations there, and that kind of weird. But
it's a lot like the South.
Yeah, a lot like so. So I got educated first time I went there, so I was a lot more educated.
Yeah, and you wonder why they like us so much.
When we went over there together, well, they like our money now. Remember, they thanked us a lot for coming over last time we went.
Yeah,
Right
they were
right
glad to see us
flood.
leave. That's for sure.
Right after that flood, they were glad to see us.
Oh, jeez.
So
yeah.
We had that girl thanking us all the time. And I was like, "Thank you for coming. Tell everybody it's okay to come.
It's safe, really."
Oh, dude.
No, because it was like 2 weeks, so they had nothing.
The weather service made it sound like
it washed away.
That all Kauai washed away.
Yeah.
Just what the whole the ocean went over.
They find it somewhere off the coast of Japan.
And it's so weird, dude. That I don't know.
Yeah, well, because that was record-breaking rain.
Yes, but I was surprised. I was surprised of what I didn't see. Yeah. I thought I'd go over there and go like, "Oh my God!"
Right.
And there was some pretty dramatic stuff that we saw. I mean, I'm not going to downplay the damage that we saw, but I'm going to say it's not anything like the super.
Well, there's one thing about being on a pointy island in the ocean is the water runs away pretty fast.
It does run away.
Good drainage.
You got very good drainage. Unfortunately, there's people in the way of the drainage, and that's kind of what happened with them there. So,
I was disappointed we didn't get all the way over to the other side of the island.
Well, you can catch us on Libsyn.com. Just go to the Weathered Soul podcast. You can grab me, Bruce the Weathered Soul, on Facebook. Say goodnight, Dougie.
Good night, Dougie.
We're going to do some extra content. This is Bruce, Dougie, we're the Weathered Souls. Get off our grass.
Get off our grass.